This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by promoter Frank Warren over Zoom. Frank, it's been a while since I last caught up with you. How are you doing?
If I could get rid of this flu, I'd be marvellous, mate.
You couldn't tell you've got a flu, Frank. You seem to be fighting fit to me.
Say that again?
You seem to be fighting fit to me, so I wouldn't be able to tell that
Well,
you've got the flu.
I've got to keep fighting, otherwise I'll be unfit. Yeah, so I'm all right, then, mate. Thank you.
Frank, obviously, let's just get straight into it because I know you've got a busy day with other media to speak to. Just want to start off with obviously last night we saw the WBA ordered Nick Ball to defend his title against Brandon Figueroa. I just want to get your understanding where you sit as his promoter. Is it the fight you're going to pursue, or are there other options on the table?
No, I think it's a fight that we'll pursue. He's a champion, so it's a tough fight. It's a good fight. I haven't even spoken to Nick about it or Paul Stevenson, his manager, but I will speak to him later today.
Obviously, as you mentioned, it's a tough fight because he's very well known, Brandon Figueroa, another fan-friendly, action-packed fighter. So, on paper, it's one which you'd expect to see the styles gel very well.
Oh, it would be. I mean, that'd be a total battle of wills. That'd be a real cracker.
I know you said you've got to still speak to his team about it. Just one more on it all. If it is the one which gets over the line, when would you like to see that fight take
Early
place?
next year. Early next year.
In terms of next year, obviously, we're going to start planning now for how you want to see 2026 line up for yourself, Frank. So, what have you got in the pipeline? What are you working on?
Well, we've got lots on. I mean, it's going to be a huge year for us. We're going to be doing our first couple of shows abroad as part of our deal with the Zone. We've got, as you say, Nick Ball. We've got the comeback of Daniel Dubois. Quite a few of our other guys. We've got a load of fights lined up, and they'll be good quality. I mean, since we've been with the Zone, we put some exceptional shows together, and we'll continue to do so. And we've still got the last quarter of this year to go. We've got the fights in October, November, and December, which we've got on, and they're blinding cards. Really good, really really good fights.
Just in terms of you mentioned going abroad next year, Spencer Brown mentioned to me the keenness to see Ajit Kabayel back over in Germany. I know that's been reported throughout the sport. In terms of that market specifically, Frank, Germany, it's a bit of a sleeping giant. Obviously, for years it had been quite kind of at the forefront of European boxing, and for whatever reason, the last few years kind of came backwards. Is that the market or one of the markets you think could be a key player for yourselves exploring Germany?
Well, we're looking at all the markets, but Germany certainly was a great market. Going back to the Sauerland, I'm talking about Sauerland's dad's
Yeah.
Wilfred, going back to his days, and looking at Peter Cole with Universum. They have some fabulous cards back then, and always a great turnout. The fans got behind their fights. I mean, Klitschko's came through that German market. That's where they based themselves, and that's where they made their name.
As I mentioned, Ajit Kabayel, have you got an update for me in terms of his next outing?
It'll be next year. We're working on it, and when we get it signed, we'll announce it.
Perfect. In terms of the remainder of this year, Frank, obviously next week, a big pay-per-view fight, Fabio-Wardley, Joseph Parker. How much credit do both of these gentlemen deserve, Frank? Because they're both so well positioned to fight for world honours, depending on obviously what happens with Alexander. Neither of them needed to take this fight, but they're risking it all.
That's exactly right, because they both wanted a fight. Neither of them were prepared to sit and wait, which some fighters would do, and I would advise some fighters sometimes to do that. I mean, no, we want to be in action, and we thought, well, if you want to be in action, why don't you just fight each other? And that's how it came to being. It's a really good fight. You talk about styles gelling. It's a fight where the styles will gel. Joe's on a great roll. I think he's won his last three now. Former world champion himself. Change of trainers. He's got a good trainer. He's got great rapport with now with Andy Lee. And then you've got Fabio, who's had, 20 fights and knocked out 18 of his opponents. Certainly his last fight showed how dangerous he is at any second of a fight. He's got that equaliser, and he done the business against Hooney when he was well behind on the scorecards. So their styles will gel. They'll walk forward, and I think we're going to get something. I really do feel we get something special on the night.
Frank, how much do you kind of look at Fabio in particular and just look at his journey, somebody who came through that white collar scene, as it's been mentioned, and just think fair play to you to reach the point where you're at without that huge amateur pedigree, without that massive backing up until the more recent years in his career. Does it ever surprise you how far he's reached?
He's a lovely guy. I mean, he's one of the nicest guys you could meet in boxing. As is Joe Parker, by the way. They're both lovely fellas. But Fabio, you've got to take your hat off to him. He's not no, as you say, no amateur background, gone out there and done it the hard way, and beaten good fighters. Gone out and beaten good fighters, and he's as tough as old boots. Um, he's a fighting man. Nothing phases him, and he really does believe he's going to win this fight. He believes in himself.
Frank, obviously, I just want to get an understanding as well. If the WBO have said anything else to you about Alexander Usyk and obviously that video we saw of him dancing, I know we saw that they was going to have an inquest about it. Have you heard any more from them?
No, nothing's going to happen. This fight will take place. The winner will become the interim champion. Then Alexander will have to make a decision whether he's going to fulfill his commitment, his obligations as a WBO heavyweight champion or not. If he does, then the winner gets them for the full title. If he don't, then the winner of the fight on the 25th will be installed as their champion and will have to make a defense of his title.
Also, Frank, I was going to get your thoughts. Obviously, you've got the Fraser Clark Jamie TKV on BBC going up against your show on the same night. I imagine that's frustrations to see two shows clashing.
It is. I thought we'd passed all that, with the zone, because we sort of sorted that. It's always a frustration. And I'm a bit disappointed in the BBC coming up with that date. They wouldn't do it with football or rugby. They wouldn't let people, or, they just wouldn't clash. They wouldn't do it. And that's what annoys me sometimes, when there's no respect for our sport. But it is what it is. And all I know is, I mean, come on, you look at the two fights, you know, how can you compare them? There's no comparison between the two fights. Zero comparison. It's the winners fighting the winners. That's what it is.
Do you expect to see any kind of clash in terms of audiences wanting to watch both or wanting to watch one but can't watch the other and what have you?
Well, they might want to watch both, and that's why it's a bit of a pain in the backside for the audience. But the ones who don't will make their choice as to what they're going to watch. And obviously, BBC's got a massive reach, big reach. Get that, and it's good boxing's on there. We want it on BBC, which is good for the sport. But this particular clashing is not good for the sport. Excuse me, and I sort of look at it and I just think to myself, there, as I say, there's no reason for a clash. But look, it is what it is.
Frank, it'd be remiss of me not to ask you about Ricky Hatton's funeral last week. We saw an unbelievable turnout in Manchester, one of the most loved men of British boxing and further afield. Just your reflections on working with him and what he meant to British boxing and what he stood for to the people.
Well, look, you only had to see it, read the newspapers since his passing, of the love and the feeling that people had for him. Acres of space, not just in the newspapers, the media, yourself, television companies, and on the day of his funeral, the love for him, the way people come out and show their respects, and that was a magnificent turnout for him, and that he quite rightly deserved. And that only happens if somebody's really loved and he's a man of the people, and that's what Ricky is. I was just sorry I couldn't be there. I was going, but my daughter got taken ill and had to have an emergency operation, so I couldn't go there, which I'm very disappointed I couldn't be there. But it was a fabulous send off for him, fabulous send off, good celebration of his life for when he for his life and all what he achieved, not just in sport but as a person.
Frank, obviously, firstly, I do hope your daughter's okay hearing that.
Thank you.
With the theme of Ricky, he was just a man of the people, Frank. And when people have success, it's easy for them to get carried away, to run away with that success that they've had. But he never did. He just stayed grounded. He obviously built his house in the estate he grew up in. How do you build I've asked you in the past about building stars, Frank, but Ricky was just unique. I don't, we always say there'll never be another Ricky Hatton, but how do you try to find somebody who can try to emulate what he did?
Well, he was obviously known in his area, but he had his first fight for me at Widnes, and he said himself he sold 3 tickets. That's what that's what it was. But over the years, he built a following because he was a man of the people. And sometimes that also was a little bit against him because he spent a lot of time in places where athletes shouldn't be, in pubs and so forth. But that was him, and that was his life, and it's, I'm not saying his stories out of school; it's all well documented. But it's been, he will never be forgotten. He will never be forgotten as a sportsman. I'm sure there'll be a permanent reminder of who he is when in Manchester. I'm sure they're going to put a statue up of him there, and as they should do. He's not just a British icon and a world boxing icon, but he was the son of Manchester, and he represented them so well, so proudly, and he was proud to be a Mancunian. So God bless him, and I hope they do that.
Frank, just have a couple to wrap up on. Denzel Bentley, Andrew Saavedra, the WBO final eliminator. What can you tell me as to why that was pushed back and when you're hoping to get it on?
We're trying to sort it out, but we will be announcing Denzel's fight. Denzel will fight this year.
He's obviously had a very frustrating year, Frank. Do you feel for him that he hasn't quite been able to get that opportunity
Yeah,
for
I
himself?
do. I do. It happens, but he's in a good position as well because he's on the verge of, providing he wins his next fight, of fighting for a world title.
And just a last one from me, Frank. Obviously, he's been well documented. Tyson Fury's return next year. Eddie Hearn keeps banging the drum about that Anthony Joshua fight. For you, Frank, is a Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight still as big as what it always was? Do you still crave it as much as what Eddie does?
It's a big, big fight. It's not. I don't think there's any. I think nobody questions that it is a big fight, but Tyson will make his mind up what he's going to do, and that won't be until next year. But yeah, of course, it's a big fight. It's a big fight. But Tyson fighting anybody's a big fight. Always has been.
100% Frank. And we'll leave that there now. Thank you for your time. Hope you
Cheers,
get over this
Andy.
bug, and I'll catch you next week.
Thank you, my son.